Assalamualaikum and good day I bid to my lecturer, Madam Zailani, and all the viewers watching this video. Today, my team and I will be presenting a textual analysis on a local Malaysian novel called The Weight of Our Sky, written by Hannah Alkaf. For this analysis, we will split it into several parts, starting with introduction and synopsis of the novel explained by yours truly, Nazeera, and the techniques of the literature used explained by Husna and Izzati, the review of the novel by Syamim, and finally to nicely conclude this analysis of the book explained by Naim. So let's begin. This is a critically acclaimed Malaysian novel entitled The Weight of Our Sky, written by Hannah Alkaf that was published in February 2019 by Salam Reads, that is an imprint of Simon & Schuster. The local writer has definitely broken the boundaries of Malaysian literature as her book has been translated to several languages and is currently sitting on bookshelves across the nation and worldwide. Not to mention, the book is based on Malaysian history and culture, which is definitely a breath of fresh air from the usual Malay romance novels and horror fictions that has plagued Malaysia's bookstores for the longest time. For the synopsis, The Weight of Our Sky's novel storyline is considered fictitious, but the historical events presented are actually true and it took place here in Malaysia. This book centers around a music-loving 16-year-old teenager named Melati Ahmad with OCD, which stands for Obsessive Compulsive Disorder. But she believes that it is a jinn that lives inside her, only to be tamed by an elaborate ritual of counting and tapping to keep him from plaguing her with horrific images of her mother's death. Melati also went through numerous tribulations and adversities to find her way back to her mother during the historic race riots in 1969 Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. So, the novel presents memories to families of Malaysian readers who may have participated in the riot and also presents multiple insights and significant themes in the stories told along the way. So, why the need for translation of this book? The reasons for why this book is quintessential in translating to different languages are that most of the people affected can be able to go through the emotions which the writer is trying to express, and also to shed light on important aspects of certain themes, which would have otherwise been isolated had it only been left in its original language. This book focuses on several aspects such as a history that explains the horrible side of a historical event in a form of well-crafted fiction, the acts of racialism that broke out between the Malays and the Chinese along the way, as well as religion and mental illness intertwined with one another inside the main character's mentality. And this was all set during the 1960s, which makes this novel all the more interesting and unique. That is all from me. Now my friends will elaborate on the techniques used in the next slide. Thank you.
So moving on to the translation technique. The translation techniques used in Di Situ Langit Dijunjung novel translated into The Weight of the Sky includes both direct translation and oblique translation, and I'll be explaining on direct translation. Direct translations includes borrowing, calque, and also literal translation, but based on chapter 4 from this novel translation, there are only uh, two translation method used, which are borrowing and also literal translation. For borrowing, it refers to a word which is from another language and unknown to most of the speakers of the target language. It means that taking a word or expression straight from the source language to target language, and the technique can be pure borrowing. The word was taken without any change from the source, and also naturalized borrowing. This can be an expression taken from a third language or a familiar expression by speakers of the target language, or even an untranslatable expression which is not worth explaining. For example, from the example, we can see that the usage of this technique can be seen at the word hospital. The translator took the word into the target as original word written at the source language without modification, and this is named as pure borrowing. It is a word taken without any change from the source. This may be accepted because the word hospital is already known or familiar term to the speaker of the target language. Second example. From the example, the usage of borrowing technique can be seen at the word inchi. The translator modified the word from its source, and this is named as naturalized borrowing, which shows the modification of spelling or pronunciation. So for the second translation technique, which are literal translation, it is the source language grammatical forms that are converted to their nearest target language equivalent. For example, based on the example, it shows that the translation technique used is literal translation, as the translator tries to make it sound natural in the target language. The translator did not translate the word the cup, but rather converted the word order in the source language. The translator translated aku ambil into I take the cup because he or she wants the target readers to understand what is meant by the word ambil in the source language. The translator made the translation acceptable in the target language.
Okay, Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. I'm Nur Husna Humaira 047654. I'm going to continue about the translation technique, which is oblique translation. So, oblique translation can only be used when they are structurally impossible and the target language TT does not have a corresponding expression. The generated text will also have a different meaning or no meaning and have a foreign structure if direct translation is used. So, for example, if the direct translation cannot be used for the translation, then you can use oblique translation. Next. Okay, the first one is transposition. So, transposition is replacing words from one grammatical word class with another without changing the meaning of the message. For example, the source language is verb, then when it translated into the target language, then it become a noun. Okay, for the example in the novel that we choose, for the ST, dengan pakaian yang memalukan translated into the TT, dressed in an embarrassing outfit one morning. Okay, in this example, transposition is also used by the translator to translate memalukan to embarrassing. Okay, the word memalukan is a verb in Bahasa Melayu, but when translated into English, it becomes an adjective which is embarrassing. It also a change in word class type of transposition. Next, modulation. According to Hardin and Cynthia Pico, modulation is a change in point of view that allows us to express the same phenomenon in a different way. We only change its point of view without changing its original meaning. Okay, for example, aku rasa susah nak bernafas, translated into I can't breathe. The example shows that the modulation technique is used by the translator. The sentence aku rasa susah nak bernafas can be translated into it feel hard to breathe, but instead the translator decided to choose I can't breathe, which has the similar meaning to the source language. Both translations can be used because the meanings of the sentences still can be understood by the audience, which depicts the character cannot breathe easily. Okay, the third one is equivalence. It refers to the commonly accepted and used equivalence of idioms, proverbs, idiomatic expression, and lexicalized terms, which are terms commonly accepted as equivalents of a source language term. Okay, for example, from the source text, jadi bahan gelak satu sekolah, to the target text, the butt of jokes for the entire school. Okay, bahan gelak in English is a material for making people laugh. The translator decided to translate it into butt of joke, which means when someone are not being taken seriously anymore. Both words have similar meaning, so the translator chose to translate it that way. This is one of the examples of equivalence. Okay, the last one is adaptation. Adaptation occurs when something specific to one language culture is expressed in a totally different way that is familiar or appropriate to another language culture. It is used in those cases where the type of situation being referred to by the source language message is unknown in the target language culture. Okay, for example, from the source text Keling Paria to the target text Indian scum. Okay, in source language, Keling Paria is actually words that are used to denote or to insult a person of the Indian subcontinent, including both those from India and overseas Indians. It is especially used in Malaysia and Brunei to insult Indian people. In the target language, there are no words that have the equivalence with Keling Paria. The translator choose the words that the speaker of target language can understand, which is Indian scum. The audience can comprehend that the character is insulting an Indian person. Okay, that's it from me. Thank you.
Next, we will move on to the review on the book that we have chosen for this textual analysis assignment. The book that we have chosen is The Wake of Our Sky by Hannah Alkaf. We choose this book knowing very little about the race riot of 1969 in Kuala Lumpur, but Hannah Alkaf has delivered a very informed yet intimately personal account of one of the most tragic incidents that are folded into the history of Malaysia. It revolved around 90 years old Melati Ahmad, who struggled with a voice in her head whom she refers to as a jinn that scared her with terrifying vision. Melati Ahmad has imagined her mother's death countless times. Plagued by gruesome thoughts she believed are put into her head by a jinn, Melati has developed an intricate set of tapping ritual to tame the monster within and keep her mother safe. One night, when she is watching a film in a theatre with best friend Safia, riot break out after the general election result. A band of thugs enter the cinema and single out the Malay. Melati is saved by a Chinese lady called Auntie B, but is forced to leave Safia behind. The guilt of leaving her friend, having to witness the terror and destruction around her, as well as her struggle to find her mother, causes Melati's problem to escalate, with the jinn taunting and accusing her of bringing about the entire situation. Unfortunately, there are things that Melati can protect her mother from. On the evening of May 13, 1969, racial tension in her home city of Kuala Lumpur boils over. The Chinese and Malays are at war, and Mel and her mother become separated by a city in flames. With a 24 hours curfew in a place and all line of communication down, it will take the help of a Chinese boy named Vincent and all of the courage and grit in Melati's arsenal to overcome the violence on the street, her own prejudice and her jinn surging power to make it back to the one person she can't risk losing, which is her mother. While stories set during this dark chapter of Malaysian history are not new, the story is uniquely told from the viewpoint of a younger girl battling demons from within. Hannah also addresses the racism that led to this tragedy, but balances it out with stories of good people trying to do the right thing. The title of the book is derived from an old Malay saying, "Di mana bumi dipijak, di situ langit dijunjung," which aim to hopefully will resonate with readers, reminding us that we all live under the same sky and should all do our part in holding it up. The translation that have been used in the book of The Wake of Our Sky to Bahasa Melayu translation were direct translation, adaptation, situational equivalent and lexical calc, to name a few. We also cannot help but notice that the words in Bahasa Melayu translation were much longer than in English version.
Assalamualaikum and hi, my name is Naim. So I'll be doing the conclusion part. So in conclusion, the translated version uses both direct and oblique method. The writer uses all three techniques from direct translation method, which are borrowing, calc and literal translation. The writer also uses oblique translation methods such as transposition, modulation, equivalence and adaptation. One of the factors that enhance the quality of the text is that the writer is a native of the source language. The writer is a native of Malay language. So when you are a native of the Malay language, you will know some of the specific terms that is useful for the translated version, so that the translated version would be understandable. However, the things that can be improved is the writer's knowledge and proficiency on the target language. Even though you have the uh, background knowledge of the source language, you need to have a lot of proficiency and knowledge about the target language, so that it can balance, it can make your work perfect as it is. So overall, it is a very well translated book. Thank you.